Viewer discretion is advised. This episode contains historical photos and descriptions of lynchings that some may find disturbing. Little is known of Big Steve Lawmen, not even when or where he was born. It's believed he was a former Confederate that drifted west after the Civil War, landing in the raw railroad town of Laramie around 1868. There, he joined his half-brothers, Ace and Con Moyer, who had helped found the establishment and claimed its law offices for themselves. As deputy marshal, Lawmen ruled through fear, using their saloon, the Bucket of Blood, to rob, intimidate, and kill under the color of the law. Their reign of terror made early Laramie one of the most violent towns on the frontier, until the town finally rose against them. Well, let's get into it, shall we? My name's Steven, and welcome to Wild West Deep Dives. When the Union Pacific Railroad pushed westward across the plains in 1867-68, a string of end-of-tracks boomtowns sprang up overnight. One of the wildest was Laramie City, found in the spring of 1868, when the rails reached the Laramie Plains. Within weeks, the place was a tangle of tents, saloons, dance halls, and gambling dens, about 1,000 people living in a landscape without real law. Cheyenne and Laramie were still part of Dakota Territory, with the territorial capital hundreds of miles away in Yankton. For practical purposes, there was no government. Wyoming Territory wouldn't be established until the 25th of July, 1868. Laramie became a magnet for drifters, deserters, gamblers, and gunmen following the construction crews west. The Frontier Index, a newspaper that operated out of a movable rail car, described these pop-up settlements as hell on wheels, places where murder, robbery, and vice thrived beside the railroad tracks. Respectable citizens were outnumbered by barren bums, thugs, garrotters, holdups, thieves, and murderers, as one later resident remembered. By summer, shootings were daily events, and anyone with a fast hand or a fixed deck could make a fortune before breakfast. Amid this chaos came brothers Ace or Asa and Con Moyer, frontier opportunists who saw in Laramie not just a boomtown, but a blank slate. You'll also see their names as Wagner or Wager. These are believed to be aliases. The brothers helped establish the new settlement, claiming civic titles for themselves. Asa became Justice of the Peace, and Con took the badge of Town Marshal. The brothers opened a large saloon and gambling hall, which would later become known as the Bucket of Blood. To give their operation teeth, they brought in their half-brother, Steve Lawmen, who had drifted west after allegedly fighting for the Confederacy. Known around town as Big Steve, he arrived early in 1868 and quickly built a reputation as a dangerous man. When Con Moyer appointed him deputy marshal in early 1868, Lawmen's authority came with a gun on his hip and no oversight above him. The Moyers and Lawmen were now both the law and the lawbreakers, a trio of self-appointed officials ruling one of the roughest towns in the West. Lawmen's brand of law enforcement was short-tempered and bloody. Within 2 months of taking office, reports claimed he had killed at least 8 men in gunfights. One account described a brawl where, after his commands were ignored, Lawmen fired into a crowd, killing 5 people. Arrests were rare, intimidation and gunfire were the standard tools of justice. In the back room of the Bucket of Blood, the brothers ran a shadow government. Ranchers were summoned and told to sign over their land deeds. Miners were pressured to surrender their claims. Those who refused were later found dead. Each killing justified by law as self-defense. The same story every time, that the man went for his gun. When a victim had none, Lawmen conveniently planted one on the body. Crooked games filled the saloon, and anyone who protested a loss risked being shot on the spot. By late 1868, Lawmen's name was whispered in fear throughout the region. Some said he had killed 13 men outright and was suspected in 7 more mysterious deaths. Though most historians admit the numbers may be exaggerated, all the sources agree that his reign of terror turned Laramie into one of the most violent towns on the frontier. By late 1868, the town's, quote, better element merchants, ranchers, and railroad men tired of murder and extortion decided to fight fire with fire. Rancher N.K. Boswell began organizing a vigilance committee to restore order. The first hanging came in late August 1868, when the vigilantes strung up a young man known only as the Kid. The violence only escalated from there. In October, the committee raided several saloons suspected of harboring the worst criminals. Their main targets were Ace and Moyer, Con Moyer, and a man named Ed Big Ned Wilson. On the 18th of October 1868, these three men were shot and then hanged from the rafters of an unfinished cabin belonging to John Keene. Their deaths marked the beginning of a bloody purge. Now when you Google Steve Long, this picture you are looking at now is commonly said to be Steve Long on the left, Con Moyer in the middle, and Asa Moyer on the right. But according to the Laramie Plains Museum, it is believed that the man on the left is actually Big Ned Wilson. The reason being is Steve Long was not killed with his brothers. Instead, Steve Long tried to ambush and rob a prospector named Raleigh Hard Luck Harrison on the 18th of October. In the ensuing gunfight, Harrison was killed and Long was wounded. He limped home where his fiancée tended to his injury. Guilt-ridden, he confessed what had happened. His fiancée then carried the story straight to N.K. Boswell. Boswell and the vigilante mob then arrested Long and took him to a telegraph pole and hanged him, bringing an end to one of the most violent reigns of false law in frontier history. This is the photo you are looking at now. With the Moyers and Long dead, Laramie's bloodletting slowed. The vigilantes, at first hailed as heroes, began to splinter once their mission was complete. By early 1869, legitimate government returned. N.K. Boswell was named sheriff of the newly created Albany County that was established on the 16th of December, 1868. And in 1872, he became Wyoming Territory's first territorial prison warden. Nicholas Spicer, another vigilante, would go on to serve as Laramie's mayor. Steve Long's fiancée later placed a marker in his memory, a strange tribute to a man that was so feared. The bucket of blood vanished, replaced by quieter businesses as Laramie grew into a permanent town. Yet the story of Big Long Steve lingers in Wyoming lore, a deputy marshal who turned outlaw under his own badge, and whose downfall marked the moment the frontier town of Laramie traded anarchy for order. Steve Long's rise and fall captured the brutal spirit of the early frontier, a time when law and lawlessness were often the same thing. His badge gave him power, but his greed and violence made him a legend for all the wrong reasons. In the end, the same kind of tough justice he dealt to so many others finally came for him. I hope you all enjoyed this episode on Steve Long and Laramie's bloody beginnings. And thank you to Connie Kronk and Kim Viner from the Laramie Plains Museum for their help with this. If you liked this episode, please give a thumbs up and maybe subscribe. Join the Wild West Deep Dives membership team. For $1, you'll get access to bonus content like the Honeywell gunfight. I greatly appreciate y'all's support. If y'all want more of Wild West Deep Dives, head on over to Spotify. You'll find access to some of my deeper dives into people like the legendary Lawmen, Bass Reeves, and the mountain man, Joe Meek. We will see y'all next week. When in doubt, shoot straight, shoot fast. God bless.